The subject of the cosmos always arouses my genuine interest and, to some extent, horror. How did everything come from nothing? Or what lies beyond the observable universe? But let's leave those questions to someone else. Today, I would like to walk with you through some frightening and mysterious corners of the cosmos. Everyone at least once in his life has thought about whether there is a planet somewhere out there in the vast and dark void, on which, in theory, a person could live without problems as on Earth. In science, there is such a term as exoplanet, meaning any planet outside the solar system. Obviously, such planets are of great interest to astronomers as a future human habitat. So, let's get to perhaps the most interesting and frightening part. A candidate for the greatest similarity to Earth is exoplanet Kepler 452b. The similarity is so great that this planet has acquired the unique name Earth 2.0. But even here, the predictions are rather disappointing. After all, even if we omit the fact that the existence of this planet is in great doubt, do not forget about the distance. And the distance in this case is 1,402 light-years. And there are planets much closer than that. For example, Proxima Centauri b, which is 40 trillion kilometers from Earth. And even here, the problems have not gone away. The main danger of this exoplanet is the enormous X-ray radiation. In theory, on Proxima Centauri b could exist a biosphere, but in March 2017, astronomers registered a powerful flash on the parent star of this planet, because of which it, in turn, should have received a huge dose of radiation, which would instantly destroy this very biosphere. And, as it turned out later, such a phenomenon is not uncommon on Proxima. In general, while I was looking for material for this video, I was once again convinced of the uniqueness of our planet and star system. Currently, a great number of potentially habitable exoplanets have been discovered, but each of them has its own, let's say, pros and cons. And they are studied quite little, and how to get to them, and I'm not even talking about how to get there. Let's say there are signs of water, which, for many people, is 100% proof that the planet is habitable. But the problem is that where there is water, there may be a terrible climate or no Van Allen radiation belt, which holds back radiation from space and makes life possible on our planet. It's pretty creepy to realize that we're definitely not getting a second home in the form of a habitable planet anytime soon. And let's not stray too far from the topic of exoplanets, because what you're about to see next will be very exciting. What you're looking at right now is exoplanet TRES-2b. The planet is 750 light-years away from Earth, in the constellation of the Dragon, and its appearance alone would terrify the casual observer. It has no water or oxygen, and its surface temperature reaches over 1,000 degrees Celsius. And that's just the beginning of the nightmare. The most frightening thing here is that it's always night on this planet. In 2011, the planet was labeled as the darkest known exoplanet due to the fact that it reflects less than 1% of the light that hits its surface. Even charcoal or black acrylic paint reflects far more light than TRES-2b. Even so, the planet isn't completely black. Because of its surface temperature, a red glow can be seen in some parts of the planet, which is very much like glowing embers. There is a theory that the property of absorbing 99% of light is due to either the absence of ammonia clouds or an excess of gaseous sodium and titanium oxide in the atmosphere of this planet. But there is no definite answer to the question of the cause of the darkness of this planet. To this day, the study of TRES-2b is of great interest to astronomers. What do you and I know about black holes? In simple words, it is a region of space-time where the gravitational pull is so strong that even light is unable to leave it. Black holes have such strong gravity that they are most likely capable of warping time and space around them. It's kind of sickening to realize that such things exist in our world. But even scarier is the visualization of these black holes. Surely many of you have thought about the consequences of falling into a black hole. Some say that a long and painful death awaits you. Others talk about alternate universes and traveling to other dimensions. But there's one disturbing theory that I don't think many of you are aware of. The exact opposite of a black hole is a white hole. The existence of this object is highly questionable, but nevertheless, there is one rather interesting observation by Israeli astronomers Alon Reder and Shlomo Heller. In 2006, on June 14th, there was an anomalous cosmic energy release, the name of which is now on your screens. Alon and Shlomo hypothesized that the outburst was triggered by a white hole. and Elon believes that white holes, once born, immediately disintegrate, and the process of disintegration is a bit like a Big Bang. Logically speaking, nothing can get into a white hole. On the contrary, everything comes out of it. There is a rather ambiguous theory that every black hole is interconnected with a white hole. Will we find ourselves in the past, the future, or in a parallel universe? And what would we even see if we were to enter these objects? We're not going to find out for a while. Well, I will remind you that the existence of this object is unconfirmed and unlikely, unlike the next one. Imagine that you are on a journey through the universe. Stars, galaxies, nebulae, and other objects are in front of your eyes, but suddenly you stumble upon this. What you are now seeing on your screens is called void. In simple terms, it's a vast region of almost no visible matter, which includes galaxies, planets, and stars, anything that interacts with light in any way. In even simpler words, absolute emptiness. Remarkably, such regions can span millions of light years. In themselves, voids are quite uncommon in the cosmos, and this has become the basis for the theory that the universe is only 5% composed of matter familiar to us. Of the remaining 95 minus 25 is the elusive dark matter, and the remaining 70 is dark energy, which is responsible for the universe constantly expanding at an incredibly fast rate, sort of like gravity, but with the opposite effect. In addition to the usual voids, there are also supervoids, the average size of which is 100 megaparsecs. One of the largest cosmic voids discovered in modern times introduces the KBC, which contains the Milky Way and local galaxy clusters. And just imagine how you would feel if you were in an absolute cosmic void. There's absolutely nothing around you. There's no hope of escape, and all hope is left for doom, a long and painful death. The race to land on the moon was perhaps one of the most interesting periods of the Cold War. The Soviet Union was quite far behind the United States in this race, and those in turn had enormous ambitions and successes. But the price for these successes was much higher than anticipated. Planning for the Apollo mission began as early as 1958. The government questioned the risky investments made in this mission, and it is certainly hard to disagree. These were huge risks, as man had never before flown such a long distance. The selection of the crew for Apollo 1 was rigorous, and out of 100 potential candidates, the choice was made in favor of 3 experienced and promising astronauts. The first was Roger Bruce Chaffee, once a naval officer and also a pilot. Bruce stood out from the rest because of his age. He was 31 at the time of the mission's launch, making him the youngest member of the team. The second astronaut's name was Edward Higgins White II. His background as an Air Force officer and test pilot helped him prove that he was perfect for the mission. Also on hand was the fact that Edward was known as the first American to visit outer space on the Gemini 4 mission. The last member of the team was Virgil Evan Grissom, who had the nickname Gus. He was the most experienced astronaut of the trio. Prior to Apollo 1, Gus had successfully participated in 2 space programs, Mercury and Gemini. Unfortunately, Grissom's vast experience did not help on that fateful day. The first manned mission, Apollo 1, was planned for the end of February 1967, but before the actual launch, the crew had to undergo many training sessions. One of these took place on January 27, 1967. It was the first test of the command module's onboard powered simulation. The astronauts were tasked with testing the performance of the ship's instruments without an actual launch. At 12:55 Greenwich Mean Time, 3 crew members boarded the spacecraft to conduct the tests. The test took place in winter conditions. The tanks on the service module were empty, the pyrotechnic devices were turned off, and it appeared that any threats were out of the question. The astronauts entered the command module and then tapped into the ship's life support and communication systems. The return report began, and everything went as planned, except for Grissom's report of an unusual odor in the spacesuit, which he compared to sour kefir. The report was suspended, but the cause of the odor could not be determined. The report was soon continued. The command module was pressurized with pure oxygen. This practice was adopted from previous successful Mercury and Gemini missions. This reduced the weight of the structure and simplified the life support system. In addition, this environment created an incendiary-like atmosphere in the capsule. At approximately 1831, a spark erupted in the oxygenated atmosphere, the source of which was most likely a shorted wiring in Grissom Virgil's chair. The fire began to spread at a terrifying rate, and the perfectly pure oxygen environment led to the instantaneous ignition of the module's materials, which, under normal conditions, would have had excellent resistance to flame. A big part of the story was the hatch, which prevented the astronauts from leaving the module because it was not designed to open instantly in an emergency. The enormous and ever-increasing internal pressure also prevented the hatch from opening from the inside. The 3 astronauts were trapped in a hopeless death trap, and those outside the module were powerless. Edward Higgins, Roger Bruce, and Grissom Virgil burned alive in the Apollo command module. I'm done for the day. If you like this video, you know exactly what to do. Don't forget to put likes and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.